Okay, last VOD of the night, we got a Diamond 5 Winston player VOD. Returned to Overwatch for roughly 4 months. Was struggling a bit with the changes to tank, especially with counter picks and hard focusing. Okay. Perfectly demonstrates a counter pick. A diva who was on my game made it difficult for me to do anything. If you have any advice on how to deal with counter picks, diva specifically, it would be appreciated. I thought I did decently. I died a little more than I'd like. Well, that was what I was about to mention. But also you say, I also struggled with bubble placements and consistent primals. That is okay. If you're aware of those things, then that is okay. Bubble placements we can potentially go over. Primals is a lot of just practice. There is not much I can tell you that will fix your primal mechanics besides learning how to control your jump better and using codes to just practice primal mechanics in general. Unless you're using them at inopportune times or they're getting forced out early. But that's probably not what you mean by consistent. Now, back to my original point. The best feedback I can give you against counterpicks is that, and Diva's a bit of an exception to this in regards to Winston, but with Winston, he has counters. Yes, they exist. They're quite hard counters, like Reaper. And Torbjorn, and to an extent Bastion as well. They're quite hard counters, but they're all really immobile, and you are very mobile. So you have to recognize that, yes, your counters exist, but no, they can't hurt you if you play it right. Diva is an exception to that. Obviously, she's highly mobile. But I think the key thing to take away from Diva as a counterpick to you is changing your playstyle from a more frag out Winston to I'm gonna live Winston. And my thought process on that is basically that if their tank is counter swapping to counter you, and she's countering you by playing Diva and constantly being on top of you, she's not on top of your team. And so therefore, if you're always taking the advantage and you're always taking the space and she is peeling, then you've already won in a way. And so your job then is just to live, and your team will get value off the space that she is not denying. And she may make an adjustment to then sometimes peel you, sometimes not. And then it's just about recognizing those opportunities and knowing when you can go aggressive and go hard. Otherwise, maybe you are sort of playing more safe and you are sort of playing more reactive to her. Maybe you have to use bubble sometimes to counter her micro missiles. Maybe you're just not staging around natural cover very well. We'll see. We'll get into the VOD. But that's my initial thoughts on it. But we'll see how you go with your gameplay. You mentioned bubble placements as well. That could be definitely part of it. Primal's less likely. Like I said, that's difficult to comment on because there's not a lot to it except practice, really. Unless you're a Winston one trick, it's difficult for me to give advice on something specifically wrong with your primals. It's really just about practice. But Dorado is a good map for Winston in general, so I'm liking this as a hero selection. Not a bad dive. A little careful on the gap that you had to close to do that. I get slept here, we need to live. Yeah, we've done enough. That's good. I could comment on it, but it works, so I'm not gonna. I think it's fine. Just make sure that when you're diving targets, you are pathing and staging in a way that minimizes how long you take damage before you're on top of your target. You get your bubble forced early, you get forced out early. The Diva's on top of you. She's getting pocketed, so we need to go in again. So we need to just not be taking damage. We get our bubble force, so we can't go in. We're just kiting. We got no deeps. Fine. We're gonna get killed anyway. Okay, so I think the issue in that fight was our positioning pre-fight. We didn't commit to anything. We did not commit to anything. We're sitting here instead of sitting on here. I think we should be on the high anyway, ready to drop on top of them. Or playing on this corner and holding this alleyway. I think be decisive in your positioning. I think this is the better play. You just sit here, and as they walk in, you're able to drop on them, or you can drop on them easily, and then you can bubble this space and hold this space, and then you can kite to this corner instead of being here. And then it's sort of knowing your L shapes. And if you played any Rhine, you would, or not any Rhine, but like a decent amount of Rhine, you may understand that a little better. But this is, I'll get a bit of a better angle on it. Our L shapes refer to this. I thought I clicked on my pen. Come on, man. L shapes. And the roof is wider than the building, but we'll just use the roof for simplicity. L shapes is this L. And as a tank, you want to be on this side of the L, not this side, because the distance to our next bit of cover is gigantic. And that's the difference between the two spots, between the spot that you ended up taking and you took late, so you took damage upon getting there. But trying to take this space, the L shape there, is massive towards really either this corner or this corner, compared to being here and dropping and then bubbling to extend our engage and then kiting. The essence of Monkey is, how can I close my gap to my isolated target, or how can I pressure or kill isolated targets? And part of that is learning how to stage, how to close, like I said before, how to close the gap without taking damage. Because the perfect Winston engage is getting on top of his target around a lot of natural cover with CDs available, without using jump, which falls under not having CDs available. But so that's sort of the criteria. I'll use a different color because I really can't see this. But one, oh, my dog just barked in his sleep. One, get on top of targets. Just to write it all out so it's easy to see. Two, close the gap without taking damage. Whatever. Without taking damage, part of that is having your armor threshold. This is a big key for your engagement. And then having CDs available. So you can get on top of your target with jump, but then that's one less CD you have available, and it makes you have to play to stay engaged for 6 seconds so you can get out. And you have to use bubble a lot earlier. The other thing is having good cover to engage on, so you can either engage on them and use the cover to dodge the abilities and then use bubble when you get below your armor threshold, or you use it in reverse where you use your bubble and then as it's starting to break you have cover to kite to buy time for the extra seconds of your jump to come off cooldown. Right, those are the two things. So obviously this is a great position because you can either fall on that side or you can fall on this side, bubble, kite. Or if you're here, you have a lot of cover, and you can bubble to dodge an ability, and then you can kite around the corner. I'll draw this a little better. You can drop on them here, you can bubble to dodge, say, sleep from the Ana, and then you can kite around to this bit of cover, right? And the whole time you've been occupying a support, at least one member of their team. Let's say Curie either peels for her or Cass does. So you've made an advantage somewhere else on the map. But anyway, that's the, I guess, sort of theory behind it. That's obviously a little more complicated than that. But you can see we don't really commit to anything. Then we get antied, so we didn't dodge a key ability. Then we get hindered, so we failed to dodge 2 abilities with our bubble. And then we just have to jump out. And then right now is where we still need to be holding space. But we can be a bit more decisive again now, right? Like, you sort of do get to it, but then you rotate back to point when the D.Va comes in. But you can sit on this corner or that corner and still be occupying the space even though you're out. The only thing you need is LOS to your team. Your team's easily able to support you as long as you're not crazy far away from them. My throat is starting to get sore from talking over 4 VOD reviews tonight. Good position so far. Good work taking the space. That's unfortunate with your bubble. I don't think you meant to drop it off the edge there. But you need... I just want to say, do less. Do less right now. Like, if D.Va is shooting you right now, and you can bubble this, then great, you can hold the space. You mess up the bubble, it falls off, you lose the space, right? That's a micro thing, and it's 1 cooldown, and it's 10 seconds of your life, right? That sucks, it's annoying, but do less, because right now you're demanding so much from your DPS, not your DPS, your supports, instead of letting them do something else. Your Mercy is healing you instead of damage boosting Genji or Hanzo on an off angle. Your Kiriko is healing you and using Suzu on you instead of going and finding her own angle or like going and looking for a pick and then Suzuing back to you. Right, like you're demanding your team to do a lot to take care of you for a space that really isn't that important anyway. But yeah. They're walking up, which I like. What's my dog doing? You good? We are walking up, which I like. I like that we're not relying on jump to get everywhere. That's a common pitfall. And I think it pays dividends. Because you're able to see that Sana's isolated on the left, I think, and you're able to dive with your Genji or the Curie. Right, so that was the value of not having wasted jump earlier, which I like, so that's good. Good to see. You don't do a lot of melee animation cancels with your dives, and you don't charge up your right click either, so maybe incorporating that combo into your dives is a good idea. But I'd say besides staying too long on that ledge, you've been handling the D.Va so far, so interested to see where this starts to fall apart perhaps. Nice staggers. Never be trading, and it's alright for D.Va right now because her shotguns are also close range and she's too far away from you, but charging up these Tesla cannons is only good when you're putting out more damage than they're doing to you, so don't be beaming Hanzos or Widows or Ashe or even Cass. Most ranged DPS, don't be spamming them. Be spamming your Moiras, be spamming your Briggs, your Divas. You know, I mean, if you're going to spam a tank, it should only be because you need ult charge or something like that. You shouldn't just be spamming the tank because she's in front of you. Still look to spam this Kiriko instead of her, because you're not going to do anything to the D.Va. Now, this is a dive that you're probably going to get punished for, right? Because you used your bubble early. Luckily, never mind, they just run away instead of shooting you. Which I guess they're failing to recognize the green signal that they got. But a little bit dangerous there, engaging without your bubble. This dive, a primal does actually get forced early, She wastes sleep, so I like that we're going on her right now. Nice boop off the map. Seemed a little bit lucky, if I'm being honest. I think you could spend a bit of time in some sort of primal workshop code. And a bit of learning how to use jump correctly. Nice. Sniper monkey. Nice getting the res, that was good. And just going in. I fell for that. Oh, nice shot. I was gonna say, never hard chase Mercy, because most of the time she's just baiting you. Yeah, still not really using the melee animation cancel. Basically, you have jump with a charge shot and a melee. That's 30 damage melee, 50 damage jump, maybe like 20 damage on the Tessican or whatever it is. It's close to like 100 damage straight up. And it doesn't increase your DPS necessarily, but it does save some ammo in your Tesla cannon. And you do end up getting her, but I was saying you probably just delete that Mercy when you land on her by doing it. It's just a little thing, but it can help. Steva, I mean, she may make an adjustment, but she hasn't really marked you this attack. Not like real hard. And you don't mind staying here right now, right? Because you have primal, so this is good. I haven't had much to comment on in the past minute or so. They really haven't been looking at you, and you've just been cleaning up because of it, so it's cool. Ah, Reaper. Now there's more counter picks coming out. Right, but Reaper's counter, but he's also immobile besides his teleport, right? So abuse that. Your cover usage is going to get exposed by the Reaper right now, I think. Yep. I mean, that was a little bit about getting chunked by the Hanzo. I'm assuming you just got headshot by him. You get bubble forced early again, which is not great. But just having a look. Yeah, you get headshot. So, okay, this again stemmed from an early bubble, right? You get bubble forced out. Now, bubble can, one, cut LOS of between isolated people and the rest of their team or their support. Two, and most commonly, used to extend your engage. Primal's great at doing the same thing, but extending your engage by, like we talked about before, dodging or blocking key abilities like sleep. And also preserving your life, like how long before you drop below your armor threshold and your health pool in general. And the other thing it can do, and more so when you're sort of brawling as Monkey or sort of walking in rather than diving targets, is that it's great at holding space. So it's great at allowing you to hold space. And that's sort of how you used it in this sense. But the space that you're holding means nothing, right? That's what you got to remember, is that if you're going to dedicate bubble to here, there better be a damn good reason why. There better be something really important about this space that helps you win this next team fight. Otherwise, it's a wasted cooldown. And so you basically only used it because you didn't play around this corner better, right? If you had a Widow that was trying to get a sniper on the snipe shot on the Hanzo, sure, that makes sense. If your Hanzo is trying to do the same thing, maybe. But it's a little dicey, right? It's a very important cooldown for you to live right now. So you need to be a bit selfish with it, I think. And so the only reason to be using it to hold space is not for your teammates, it's for you. And this space doesn't give you anything. Well, it's sort of kept up here. And again, if you want to really be nitpicky about it, you were missing still some armor HP. So again, doing less, making sure, because it's not about, when you talk about having this sort of, it's messy and uneven or whatever, but when you talk about these like periods of uptime, right? And trying to maximize your uptime as a tank. Yes, that's good, but make sure it's quality. Never sacrifice quantity of uptime for quality, right? We don't care if you don't have a crazy amount of uptime if it means that when you do have uptime, you're always finding value and you're having like really good CD management, right? Because anytime you're trying to extend how long you're doing it, and if you're like doing it in these periods, then you're actually making it longer and you're delaying until your next peak, right? So you need to be really careful about these situations. Like right now, bubble forced, there's not a lot you can do. You can spend the time, however, rotating up to high. Maybe you do use jump to just get there quickly and you get to the mega so they can't really chunk you. Maybe that makes Reaper use teleport and he teleports back to the high ground or he teleports to chase you. That's still making space. But yeah, you're missing like 60 armor. And maybe HP isn't that relevant, but armor's pretty important. So 60 of it is, pretty important. And then we get chunked. And then we fall below the armor threshold and that's just GG. We don't have enough healing with Kiri Mercy to stay alive in that situation. We'll keep it moving here because we're not really progressing fast enough through the VOD for how long we've been going. I'll try and pick up the pace a little bit. I'm assuming we get stalled out. This is a loss. Again, is this space really worth contesting? The dragon just did the same thing as your bubble. So, but we don't have it right now. And then we use it and then we dive. It's like, what did we use it for? We took a lot of damage from Hanzo, but that was because we didn't have the bubble before. And then we just let the Hanzo burn another bubble. And now we're going in. He actually did the melee that time, but he was out of range. And we're still below our armor threshold. We get the Mercy. We primal to extend it. But why are we primaling the Reaper? You are more mobile than your counters. Don't play into them. Look for, go search for the Hanzo that you just almost killed before. Or juggle the D.Va further into your team and the chance of demeching her, right? Any option is better than primaling a Reaper, because that's just a recipe to make it end really quickly and to charge his ultimate. And sometimes, if you misplay Primal, don't force it either. If you pop it and you go, oh, I shouldn't have done that. Don't then just go feed 900 HP for the hell of it. Sometimes it just sucks, but that 1000 HP can allow you to just occupy a space and challenge anyone who comes into it while still playing cover like a normal tank. But our resources just get forced down. They have ults. There's not much to say about that death. But if I'm being honest, I haven't seen this D.Va and Reaper. Like, the Reaper obviously is countering you, but I haven't seen the D.Va, really hard countering you. And it's only being a little bit easier on the Reaper because this third point is more brawl-based than the rest of the map. Rushed. Very rushed engage. You have to do your due diligence, you have to scout, and you have to stage. The Mercy, could be out of position, but because that Reaper is there, she's not out of position, she's perfectly safe because of the space the D.Va's holding and the Reaper's holding. So this is just feeding. To be blunt with it, that was absolutely feeding. And one of the things we talked about is closing the gap to your target, or minimizing how much exposure there is. And it's sort of a thing with ball. You don't want to ever be front rolling because it's an easy sleep for an Ana or an easy discord and burst for Zenyatta. So maybe rotating through here as quickly as you can, and then you can look for a stage on the high. Or if you want your whole team, If you want to force this Reaper out, then sure, bubble this, but walk through this door so he's the only one shooting you and let your whole team come in as well and properly force him out instead of diving. And then the other thing is if you walk to this Reaper instead of diving to the Mercy next to the Reaper, you have jump to get out, which can be further out or it can be to a Mega, right? You can live a little better. But you can't rush Winston. Especially not into counters. It's a nice kill. See, good bubble. That forced the Reaper to back up, forced you to not take damage. That was a better space holding bubble. It's a nice kill, good sleep by Yorana. Now dive the high. Go dive the high. Let someone else sit on cart. You can't afford to sit on cart with a Reaper on their team. You need to go sitting on high so that you can drop when you have jump available. And did we need to drop a fire right now? Like, was there anything forcing us out just then? Or actually jumping into more danger by jumping back? And we don't need to touch card. It's still ticking overtime. Watch from that point of view. Like, a really good dive onto the Hanzo. And then we can just sit up here poking the Mercy so she can't proc her support passive or her Guardian Angel passive, whatever it's called. Just sit here tasering her or poking her out. And then wait for your cooldowns to go and then go again. Maybe go get the mini because you're low. Or just sit on the edge in LOS of Yorana. You probably can test point from up here too, to be honest. But I'm not sure on that. Instead we're going to drop into more danger. We're going to have to use our cooldown again just to go contest the Hanzo. Force him off. There's a bubble. That's unlucky. I like the play. I want to see how much you missed this by. Go on, there you go. I like the idea. It's a huge play if you land it. You do land it, you're just inside the bubble. Yeah. I guess if you stay on high ground, if you can see the trajectory of it, you can drop bubble off the high and block it. Without being in the... Wait. Hold on. That looked like it was underneath your bubble anyway. Oh no. Okay, fair enough. But yeah. Unlucky on that. Unlucky on that. It was a good play. Because if you don't die to that, Yorana does, so... Here's what it is. Mercy gets a res, but you've probably used too many resources by this point. Yeah, there you go. This is clean up, and we'll just run through a bit of the attack. Not that it's very long by the looks of it. About 5 minutes. Nice. I just worry about you extending your uptime just then. I don't... I think it's okay. But I think you also need to be able to occupy space in this downtime, so you need to be sitting back here. I think sitting back here is giving them too much space. You need to make them actually force you off this high ground. Because you're still in LOS of your team here. We get back over here, which is good. But in a different scenario, they could have very well taken advantage of that. Pushes you off. Oh, you use jump to go in. Yeah, no. That was just a good play by her. You have to respect it and jump back up. You can't engage right now. The whole point of this high ground, it's very aggressive, but you don't have to use jump to engage on them. So the second you do is just bad news. Sort of speed run this last bit just to look over it. Again, a little not micro thing. It's the same sort of thing. Land on her, but don't use bubble. You're right next to a corner. Like, you hold this space just by existing. They should have to use something to get your bubble out there. That was good. I think you need to walk in that situation. You're worried about them capping, maybe? Yeah, we can't. We have to just sort of sit on point and live. We can't aggress right now. If you're worried that you're trying to kite the bubble, the bomb or something. I get that. But yeah, we don't have bubble or armor, so pretty much a suicide mission. Oh, there's some swaps coming out now. Again, the fundamentals of Winston, finding an isolated target and either killing or pressuring them out. Right now, with this dive, you path out in the open to take 100 of your armor HP off. Then you use a cooldown to not get on top of them. And it's 4 targets against 1 Winston with 130 armor missing. Am I getting my point across? Like, I hope this is now becoming really obvious to you and you're seeing it as before I'm even explaining it, right? Like, this is not how you play Winston, or like, it can't be. Like, you can't be taking all this, because not that you are getting punished and killed right now, but now your sim wants to go in, or like now your Mei wants to brawl them, or like your supports are set up, or you're like, imagine your Ana gets a nade right now. How frustrating that would be. Like, she got a 3-man nade on this backline and you couldn't go in. It'd be so annoying, and that's what it's doing. And not only that, it's forced, like I mentioned earlier, when you're holding that space, you're demanding a heap of resources from your supports. And whenever they're healing you, they're not pressuring the enemy team. Yeah. I mean, you need to live there, that's cool. Nice kill. Nice dive. That was actually really good. That was actually really good. I don't think... This is your life weaver, isn't it? Yeah. I don't think you need to kite so hard. I think you can just play in the tree and sort of brawl this out a little bit. Oh, nice. There cuts LOS of our own support. Just die on cart. You're probably not going to get out. Unless they don't chase. Your sim's in trouble though. Yeah, that was a nice primal. Unfortunately, just can't capitalize on the space created. You guys just get rolled in one team fight and they cap. That's unlucky. I mean, they have 4 ults against your 2, so makes sense. Yeah, well, I hope that there was a fair amount of examples of what I was talking about. Sort of Winston fundamentals, I guess, in terms of thinking about your engagement rules. And a couple of times your bubble just getting forced early, or forced unnecessarily, and the amount of resources you are demanding your team to give you. And we talked about the counters. I don't think the D.Va was crazily oppressive in this VOD. The Reaper was definitely towards the end of that 3rd point attack. But yeah, I hope it made sense, and I hope if you have any other questions, definitely reach out and DM, or just reply in the forum. And yeah, make sure you're thinking about the fundamentals and remembering that your counters exist, but you can definitely play around them, and you can make adjustments to your CD usage because of it. And then specifically talking about Reaper, yeah, you can outpace him. You have more mobility, and definitely look to stage around that. But yeah, I hope this helps, and all the best with your games.